Roger Highfield has written 7 books. You can read about them online. They've had fantastic reviews. He has a website and he also tweets at Roger Highfield. He's also a science journalist and broadcaster, born in Wales, raised in North London. He was, for 2 decades, 20 years, science editor of the Daily Telegraph, and he is now editor of the New Scientist. Ladies and gentlemen, Roger Highfield.
Thank you. Thank you. Gosh. I did actually want to tweet this event, you'll be shocked to hear, but of course there's no signal here, it's a bit depressing, shows you the limits of modern technology. Now, I'm going to start off with a kind of nerdy point. What do we mean by technology? I found one definition. It said, you know, making, usage, knowledge of tools, techniques, crafts, systems, or methods of organization in order to solve a problem. And I really just want to think of it in a very general way. It's putting understanding to some kind of use. Now, thinkers as diverse as Freud, as Engels, as Thomas Carlyle once thought that the use of tools was a defining behavior of human beings. But actually technology is millions of years old. And I don't really, you know, this idea that it's unnatural or it's human is quite wrong. You know, when an ostrich drops a rock on an egg to break it, when an Egyptian vulture, I beg your pardon, drops a rock on an ostrich egg to break it open, that's the use of a tool. If you observe wild chimpanzees, you can see them using tools for all kinds of foraging purposes. They've got probes to get at termites. They use leaves to drink water. They use stones as anvils and so on. Throw rocks at each other and so on, cracking nuts. So this is all tool use. You can see it in capuchin monkeys and so on. Dolphins, female bottlenose dolphins, teach their offspring how to use sponges to rummage around in the seabed and so on. My personal favourite is the New Caledonian crow, which are really cool animals actually. They're almost human-like in their use of tools. Earlier studies about 10 years ago showed that the tool use of these crows, where they're ripping out these pandanus leaves and using them to get out bugs and things like that, matched human tool use about 2.5 million years ago to about 700,000 BC. But the kind of anthropocentric within us would argue that only humans had the brain power to evolve technology. But in fact, if you go to New Caledonia, this island in the Pacific, you will see there's good evidence that the crows have evolved tool use. So with those evolving leaf tools, I think the birds have well and truly levered man off his pedestal. So I'd argue that technology's been around for millions and millions of years. And so for the purpose of this debate, I'm going to say that modern technology is anything invented by humans. So let's start off with fire. That was something we understood how to use, probably used by Homo erectus something like 500,000 years ago to, you know, originally, maybe goes back as far as 1 million years ago. With fire, that opened up extraordinary opportunities for mankind. And if you talk to Richard Wrangham, an academic at Harvard University, he actually says it's linked with being human. He argues the point at which our bodies show an adaptation to cooking goes back a couple of million years ago. And you can see evidence in the changes that took place when we evolved from ancestors that are like chimpanzees that were already standing upright. By cooking, we could absorb more energy. That meant that we could invest less effort into getting intestines, more effort in growing our brains. It affected our brain because humans became socialists. They worked around the campfire and so on. And if you look at Wrangham's argument, it's pretty clear that this particular technology, the use of fire, actually helped make us human. So I'd argue that modern technology has actually made us who we are. And I want to just go to something that Brendan raised. You know, the effect of this modern technology is very profound indeed. I mean, how many people here are over 35 years old? If you dare admit it, put your hands up. Well, obviously, if you look through the history, you know, of human cultures, you find life expectancy at birth in the Stone Age was a miserable 20. So you'd all pretty much be dead if we were back in the Stone Age. If you go to classical Greece, life expectancy was about 28. Early modern Britain, 25 to 40. Early 20th century, 50 to 65. And now the life expectancy at birth of the world is about 67 years. And you can see a very clear link between how old people get and the pervasiveness of technology in society. And certainly during the Industrial Revolution, you could see the percentage of children, the life expectancy, I beg your pardon, of children increased dramatically. So the percentage in London, so who died before the age of 5, decreased from 3/4 from 1730 to 1749 to about a third in 1810 to 1829. So, you know, it's very clear that technology has had a huge effect on how long we're living. And I think there's also, it's pretty clear that things are getting better as well. If you look at the proportion of the developing world's population living in extreme economic poverty, that fell from 1990 from 28% to 21% in 2001. So things are, not only are there many more of us than there ever was, you know, the population is predicted to be about 7 billion, and only, well, relatively speaking, 1.7 billion, I wouldn't say only, obviously we want to get it down to zero, living in absolute poverty, but really there are more people around than ever before, living in better conditions and for longer than ever before. Now, of course, the whole message of this early use of fire is that it gives you responsibility. Once you could learn how to use fire to sterilize your food, to keep warm and so on, you also had the opportunity to burn down your neighbor's hut or whatever, or to burn their crops. So it's always given us this responsibility. In fact, just for a kind of terrible book plug, but in my latest book, Super Cooperators, with Martin Novak, a Harvard academic, we argue that we've got a great propensity to cooperate with each other. And we've got this incredible responsibility from technology, but I'm confident that we're actually, we know we're programmed in various ways to think that we can put it to better use, not worse use. So just to summarize, I'd say technology actually made us human, and modern technology has only created one problem, and that is how to handle the incredible responsibility that the power of technology gives us. And that's it, basically.
Woo! Thank you very much, Roger Highfield. And now, the speakers for the motion, that's Brenda O'Neill and Harry Ayres, your witness.
Roger, it seemed to me you were talking mainly, almost exclusively, about old technologies in your speech, nearly all of which I agreed with, but you were talking about the benefits.
Yeah, but remember, you know, technology goes back millions of years. I reckon modern humans go back, say, a couple of 100,000 years, so I would say that's very modern technology indeed, actually, relative to millions of years of technology use.
No.
Yeah, come on, give me a break. Yeah.
Remember to speak into the mic, straight into the mic. Thanks. Go ahead.
Do you not recognise that there is a profound difference between an animal dropping a rock onto an egg and human technology? Do you not appreciate that what an animal is doing is instinctive and what humans are doing is cultural?
In fact, there's beautiful evidence of chimpanzees washing rocks and washing food. Actually, I'm trying to remember what it was now. In Japan, there was a colony of, you can actually see cultural evolution in chimpanzees. There's a big debate of if you talk to Andy Whiten in St Andrews, he'll explain how there's lots of evidence that chimpanzees have culture just as rich as ours, where one individual learns how to do a trick and by observation other individuals do that trick as well. So I think you guys are suffering from an incredibly limited, myopic picture of what we mean by technology. I feel sorry for you. You've got to open your minds. Come on.
I don't want to disagree with you about chimps and kind of any pros at all, but going back to this point, you were talking about life expectancy increasing, which of course we're all grateful for, but by far the greatest influence on that was clean water, which didn't involve any particularly sophisticated technology. And again, I don't feel that you're really addressing this question of new technology. Don't you?
No, I would disagree with that. In fact, I mean, you know, I think learning there was a profound change in human culture when we learnt to live in cities, and that really bootstrapped human cultural evolution. But one of the problems we had was, of course, we were polluting our own water, and actually just the application of things like learning how to make tea, boiling water to sterilize it, or making weak beer, So you're a beer culture if you're European. Those were, I would say, that is technology. That's applying knowledge to solve a very difficult problem indeed.
All right, very quick time point.
Yeah, the old technology definitely improves human life, but new technology is making it worse, because new technology in the third world now is sustainable technology, like solar power and burning cow shit in order to keep yourself warm, which is not going to improve anyone's life. So surely the new technology which people support, which they doll up as sustainable development, is not a good thing.
You'll get your turn out there.
I profoundly disagree with that. I think you know, those sorts of appropriate technologies are incredibly important to give people a quality of life.
Appropriate technology, appropriate to being in poverty.
Well, I think it's appropriate to how much resources you can get.
If Stone Age man had had appropriate technology, we'd all still be living in caves. We want inappropriate technology which breaks through barriers.
Well, I think the modern internet age is a wonderful, ultra-modern technology that breaks all barriers, and I'm not sure why you're moaning about all this pampering. So I want to be flattered and pampered and have a lovely time.
Okay, we've got to wrap it up. Thank you very much, Roger Highfield, ladies and gentlemen.